The study of the human body has been shaped by centuries of observation, experimentation, and debate. Early physicians relied on tradition and philosophy, often without direct evidence. Galen, a Roman physician, became the authority on anatomy for over 1,000 years, despite basing much of his work on animal dissections rather than human bodies. In the medieval era, Avicenna compiled and refined medical knowledge, integrating ideas from multiple traditions. His work guided physicians for generations, though his studies remained largely theoretical due to ethical restrictions on human dissection. By the 16th century, a new approach emerged, one that prioritized direct observation over inherited knowledge. Andreas Vesaliaus became a central figure in this transformation, reshaping the field of anatomy through first-hand dissection and detailed study. Scientific progress has always been built on past discoveries, but the way knowledge is obtained and credited has long been a subject of debate.
Welcome, Mr. Vesaliaus, and thank you for applying for the position of Director of Physiology at our university. Before we begin, could you tell us a little about your work?
Of course. I'm Andreas Vesaliaus, a Flemish anatomist and physician. My life's work has been dedicated to understanding human anatomy through dissection. You see, before my time, medical knowledge was based on ancient texts, particularly those of Galen, who relied on human dissections. But I dared to challenge that. I conducted human dissections myself and documented my findings in great detail. My magnum opus, the Humani Corporis Fabrica 1543, changed the way we study the human body forever.
That's fascinating. What exactly does your research focus on?
I focus on refining anatomical knowledge. Galen, for example, described a heart with holes between its ventricles, something I never found in human bodies. I also mapped the muscular system, nervous system, and circulatory system with greater accuracy. I believe medicine must be based on direct observation and experimentation, not on blind faith in tradition.
And how did you conduct this research? Dissections were highly controversial in your time, were they not?
Indeed, they were. I had to be resourceful. The church and many authorities considered human dissections taboo, but I found a way. I obtained the bodies of criminals sentenced to death, a practice common in my time. I dissected them to uncover the structure of the human body.
You dissected criminals? That seems rather barbaric.
Barbaric? No, necessary. Science demands sacrifice. Had I not done this, would we still be relying on Galen's mistakes? Look at how far medicine has advanced because of my work.
Still, modern medical ethics would never allow such practices today.
Yes, I have read about your modern ethics, but tell me, do you not still rely on cadavers for medical student? How different is that?
Well, today's cadaver donations are voluntary. Consent is a major part of ethical research.
I see. In my time, we had no such luxury. We did what was necessary to advance science.
Why do you believe your work is important?
Without an accurate understanding of human anatomy, how can we expect doctors to perform successful surgeries, diagnose diseases, or even treat the simplest ailments? My work has not only debunked ancient errors, but has also laid the foundation for modern medical science.
That's quite bold. Your work advanced anatomy, but science does not exist in isolation. Many before you, like Avicenna, made important contributions. What is your opinion on his work?
Avicenna. A great mind, no doubt. His canon of medicine was the leading medical text for centuries, and I might have studied in university. I don't exactly really though. However, he never performed human dissections, which limited his accuracy. I respect him, but true anatomy cannot be learned from books alone. It must be seen with one's own eyes.
Some of your findings have since been proven wrong. For instance, your description of certain veins was incomplete. How do you respond to that?
Science is always evolving. My dear interviewers, if some of my findings were incorrect, that only proves the beauty of the scientific method. Unlike those who blindly followed others, I encourage direct observation. If later scientists improved on my work, I welcome it because that's how science progresses.
An interesting perspective. Well, before we make a final decision, we'd like to get a second opinion. Thank you for coming in today. Greetings Avicenna. We're speaking with Andreas Vesaliaus regarding his groundbreaking contributions to anatomy. Given your own influence in medical science, we'd love to hear your thoughts on his work.
Vesalius, the dissector of man. I have read of his contributions. He was brave, no doubt, daring to question the flawed teachings of Galen. For that, I commend him.
So you acknowledge his work as revolutionary?
Certainly, but tell me, does he acknowledge those who, let's say, came before him? Or does he claim to be the only sole bearer of truth?
Well, Vesalius often criticized Galen, but he did not mention you, despite your extensive work in medicine, physiology, and anatomy centuries before him.
I expected as much. It is the way of man to erase those who do not fit their version of progress, their version of discovery. I wrote the canon of medicine, a text that guided healers for generations. I described the circulatory system, the role of nerves, the role of brain, and even diseases like diabetes and tuberculosis, all without the need to violate human bodies. All that he was able to do, all that he was able to cut, was because of the information I had provided in my canon of medicine.
That's a key difference between you and Vesalius. You never performed human dissections. Some would argue that limited your understanding.
And some would argue that cutting into a man's flesh does not make one wise. There are many paths to knowledge. Vesalius sorted with the knife, I sorted through observations, reason, and healing. Do you think one path makes the other less valuable?
But Vesalius proved that some of Galen's ideas, like the structure of the human jaw and the liver, were incorrect. Without dissection, would we ever have known?
I do not oppose discovery. I oppose arrogance in discovery. Had Vesalius acknowledged my writings, my methods, he might have seen that I too corrected Galen's errors without ever lifting a blade. I spoke of the heart's chambers, the pulse as a diagnostic tool, and the connection between the mind and the body. Yet, because I did not dissect humans, I'm seen as lower.
But surely you must admit, Vesalius' work ushered in a new era of medical science. His methods brought undeniable accuracy.
And I do not deny this, but ask yourselves, had I been born in Europe instead of the East, would I have been remembered differently or not? Would they have cited me then? Or is this not just about science, but about whose knowledge is deemed worthy by who?
That's an interesting point. Science is supposed to be universal, yet history often favors certain names over the others. While Vesalius is undoubtedly brilliant, he revolutionized anatomy and disproved centuries of errors. But he also dismissed those who paved way for his discoveries. Should we reward brilliance without acknowledging the past? And let's not forget his methods, dissecting criminals without consent. Yes, his methods raised serious ethical concerns. But to be fair, he operated in a different era. Science was not bound by the ethics that we follow today. Thank you for meeting with us again, Mr. Vesalius. Your work is undoubtedly groundbreaking, but scientific progress is about collaboration, not just individual genius. Our university values collaboration and teamwork. That means fair credit must be given. Here's what I propose, Mr. Vesalius. We are offering you the position, but on specific conditions. You must acknowledge that your work was built on the discoveries of those before you, Avicenna included. Additionally, our institution upholds ethical research practices. While we respect your contributions, we do not condone unethical methods, even if they try to advance science. In this role, you will commit to research that is both groundbreaking and ethical.
I appreciate this opportunity. My work has always been about challenging outdated knowledge, correcting errors so that medicine can progress. But I see now that progress is not just about what we discover, but also about what we acknowledge along the way. So here are some questions we leave you with. Vesalius changed medical science forever, but his story also shows how scientific credit is often unevenly distributed.
Avicenna's contributions were overlooked because he did not perform human dissections. But was that fair? His discoveries were based on careful observation and reasoning, not just dissection. Should historical figures be judged for failing to acknowledge others? And where do we draw the line between scientific progress and ethics?